I should have known. I should have known. Knowing what year this came out in, I should have known. I should have known what this was going to be, and I didn't even think about it. Especially when Jason from Sinister Cinema said that it was gory, like really, really gory. I should have known. This was totally not Terror Train. This was Hostel meets Terror Train. It's got some stuff that you could say was left over from the script from Terror Train. Like they're college students, right? And there's a scene towards the end where one of the villains takes a swan dive off the train that's going over a bridge, falls smack down. Other than that, it's Hustle on a fucking train. And like I said, I should have known. I should have known. Knowing it came out, having seen it came out in 2008. I should have known that was smack dab in the middle of the torture porn era, and I should have known what I was getting myself into. But no, and here we are. Talk about Train, which is about as original of a name as Plane, which is a movie that came out earlier this year, starring Jared Butler. But quit turning that way. That's the problem. Alright, so Train stars Thora Birch as Alex, part of a group of college wrestling team. Since when did they have co-ed wrestling teams? I thought wrestling teams were only for men in college. I don't remember ever seeing. I didn't go to college, and I didn't do wrestling in high school, which I could have, though, if I wanted to. But as far as I knew, it was male only. And I know that professional wrestling, which is not actual wrestling, it's entertainment. The wrestling stuff, yes, there's some moves, but I don't know. It threw me off. There was girls or women on a wrestling team. I don't know. Not saying anything. It just kind of threw me off. But what it is this wrestling team that are on this wrestling tour trip in Bulgaria, where it's actually in Bulgaria. They filmed in Bulgaria instead of saying, "Oh, this is New York," or doing the Hostel 3 thing and filming in Bulgaria, but saying this is Vegas, even though it doesn't look like Vegas. Yeah, it's Bulgaria. So it's a group of college students who are a wrestling team, on a wrestling team, and they are out all night partying, and that leads into them missing their train to the next stop. So they are put on another train by this doctor lady. And it turns out to be a trap because they are, I don't know, harvesting their organs or killing people on purpose. It's confusing. It's Hostel. It's basically Hostel, only they do harvest organs here and there. And at the beginning of this, I was interested in where it was going. And then the coach gets drugged by the doctor lady. I'm like, oh, okay. And then once he woke up, strapped to something, I'm like, oh, this is Hostel on a train. Lovely. Okay. And so the next hour, I was treated to just Hostel on a train, for lack of a better term. And this was, I telegraphed this. Like you should have seen me doing a dance of joy because I predicted this. So the beginning of the film, our main character Alex and her boyfriend Todd, they're in a hotel room, not fucking, although they probably did, but they're in a hotel room and he shows her this move that she's supposed to use in her next wrestling match if anyone comes up on her. Supposed to spread your legs out, hook, and, and I'm like, oh, so that's gonna come into play there. She's gonna use that on the killer. And of course, me not knowing what the killer was going to be, she's gonna use it, and she does. Although it did kind of catch me because she's the only survivor. because of course she is, because final girl, right? And when just when she thinks it's over, she detaches the caboose cart or whatever from the train. Dude takes a swan dive for no reason other than we have to have this. Like, okay, so if I hadn't mentioned, this was originally supposed to be a remake of Terror Train, which would have went along with the remake craze of around that time. However, they changed the script up, and it was far too much removed from Terror Train, so they called it just Train. And like I said, other than this, the only similarities are that it's a group of college students on a train, and people die, and the guy at the end takes a swan dive. And this felt like it was left over from that script, and they kept it. And even if they kept it in there, it just feels derivative of, oh, that movie ended with the guy taking a swan dive, so this one does too. But it goes further than that because there's one survivor, this big, burly, bald dude that fights her, kicking her ass. And then, of course, she uses the wrestling move her boyfriend taught her to break his head on the freaking train track thing. And then he's trampled over with a Wilhelm scream at the end that was really, like, yes, the ending of Terror Train where the guy falls down and just crashes is lame. But when the guy falls out of the train here, there's a big yell or whatever till he hits, which I guess would happen. And in this one, when this other guy is getting hit by a train, they use the Wilhelm scream. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, man. Now, this was not terrible, but it wasn't as good as Terror Train. Jason, I'll give it to him. He's right. It's gory. It is gory, for sure. And there's also questionable, like, things going on besides the doctor and people. Like, first of all, you missed your train and this random guy's like, oh, you can use this one. Okay, this so I'm going to have a train for you. It's obviously something's going on here. But then, shit starts to happen, people start to die, and it's not all on the train because Alex eventually gets out and she saves Willie. So Alex and Willie are the two leads basically because Todd gets killed off right away. Because he taught his girlfriend the move, so he does not need it anymore. So, she and Willie. Willie gets captured and then the train stops and she gets out in a disguise and she goes off to this castle, which makes it fully like Hostel. And she saves Willie. And then some really questionable things happen. So, she leads him at this train. She says, I'm going to go look and I'm going to see where we are and see where we need to go. And as soon as she gets far enough away, we hear him scream because he's been found by the bad guys. And he's killed. 1, how the hell did they find him if they were way off the beaten path? 2, what the fuck was the point of saving him if he's just going to be killed? Because we need an extra 5 minutes to round this out. That's all I can think of. We need a little bit of extra in this. A little extra 5-10 minutes so we can reach our 90-minute destination of this film. Otherwise, it's completely pointless for her to save him because literally after she leaves him there, he gets killed. It doesn't make any sense. Right? And the ending of this is even more of a head scratcher. So, after she takes care of that guy and he gets run over by a train, we see her now, sometime later, back on the wrestling team, which, at first I was like, wait a minute, how's that wrestling team? Everyone's dead. But they did say that it was just these people on the wrestling team and the other members of their team had went ahead, so there is more members. Plus, they can always get more. Now, so apparently she cut her hair, and it's represented by a terrible hairpiece that is obviously a wig on her, but whatever, and she puts the hairpiece on, and she puts the freaking wrestling headgear on. She looks like Kurt Angle in 2002 after he got his head shaved. He didn't want to admit he was bald, so he put the hairpiece on. Remember that? He faced Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan ripped it off him, put it on with the wig thing on. I don't know. It's conflicting. There's good gore. I think Thora Birch was great, in the role. I think she does a good job. But overall, this just, I don't know. And again, it doesn't really count because it's not really a remake of Terror Train. I was getting the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, it could still be a remake. How drastically could they change the script? This feels like they're like, okay, we have the script. We're gonna do a remake of Terror Train. Okay, that sounds good. And then someone went home. One of the producers or something went home, watched Hostel, and said, "Hey, you know that movie Hostel? Let's do that, but on a train. Let's change it up and do that on a train." The only things that were left was that there were college students and that swan dive at the end. Everything else was changed. And if no one said anything about this being a remake, about this originally being a remake before script changes, I wouldn't have said anything other than, that swan dive was awfully, that thing at the end. The guy flew off the train was kind of like a Terror Train. Must be an homage. And now I know the truth, it was probably just left in the script from before and they didn't take it out. Overall, though, I would say this is not worth your time. It's a bit meh for my liking, and I feel like, I don't know, it's not really grabbing me. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been something. As soon as I saw it was going to the Hostel route, I went, oh, fuck this. Fuck it. I already said I was going to do it. If I hadn't mentioned anything in my last video, I would have just went to the remake. But now here I am, reviewing this thing. And I don't do rankings for... I just wouldn't technically count as part of a franchise, but I don't know. It was really supposed to be a remake, but it would be on the low part. Excuse me. Oof. I had a Reese's peanut butter burps. Anyway, I didn't have a Reese's peanut butter burp. You know what I mean? I had a Reese's footballs. Still have them. Never good. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on Train? Which, by the way, it's kind of a stupid name. It's like, oh, we can't call it Terror Train anymore, so let's just call it Train. We call it Train. Train. Just a train. And in a way, it is very 2000s, having, like, Splinter. That doesn't say much about the movie, and that's a very basic name for a movie about some kind of virus, where this is Train, and it's a very basic name for Hostel on a Train. In fact, if you had called this Hostel Part 4, I don't think everyone would have questioned it. This could have been a fourth Hostel movie. How many were out by then? The first one was... Maybe this would be Hostel 3, I don't know. Depending on when it came out. I'm not going to go scrounge around. But anyway, what are your thoughts on Train? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.